Well, apparently this video didn't age well. I heard you loud and clear. I did a video with a lot of things to sew for baby, and this one in particular got some negative feedback on the sound. It is a great project, how to sew really easy baby bibs. This was done 2 years ago when I was still only filming on my iPhone. I have much better mics, much better cameras now, so let's get into it. You know, it really is the little things that bring me joy, like when my supplies all match. I mean, look at this. My pinking shears match my little birds. Love it. Let's talk about what we need to make these bibs. I'm going to be using snaps. You can use Velcro, you can do sew-on snaps, but I'm going to use these KamSnaps. If you want to use plastic snaps, you need to get the extra long so that it will go through and won't rip apart if you use the terry towel, which I highly recommend you do. Then you need matching thread, this to poke the hole for the snaps, pins, pinking shears. You're going to need a piece of fabric for the front, and then I always use a terry towel for the back. Moms love it. It's just super absorbent. You kind of flip up the bib and you can wipe off whatever, it absorbs it. This is half of a towel. I had used the other half on another project. It is basically one of these that I get at Walmart. I think it comes like in a set of 6. And even with this part, you can cut it off and you can do the biggest bib and have a little bit extra for another project. So you can run to Walmart or you can look at the linked products and find them. So we're going to use this half and this piece of fabric. We're going to be doing the second of the 4 sizes. So we're going to do a 3 to 6 month bib. Now you can download this free template. I also have the pattern in my Etsy shop that includes SVG files if you like to cut fabric with a Cricut or other cutting machine or a laser cutter. I don't have a laser cutter, very tempted, but I think you might even be able to do like layers of fabric and cut them all at the same time with a laser cutter, which would be amazing if you were sewing and selling. I will also put a link in the video description to some legal requirements in the US if you want to sew and sell for babies, which is what bibs are for. So anyway, I wanted to show you really quickly the template. I have one, a standalone for the newborn size. It was the only one that fit on one page. And then for the others, we're going to have to cut and then tape them together, and it has all 4 sizes. It's a little harder to see the lines if you print it in black and white. So it's going to be quicker and easier if you print it in color. So you can see the newborn is the blue, pink, green, and purple. So the first thing to do is to make the template. These are my paper scissors, not my fabric scissors. Also from Fiskars, I get this action, this easy action that they have anytime I can. Love it. So easy on your hands and your thumbs. Whenever I'm doing a template that you tape together, I cut one of them right on that line, and then I leave the other one long. Maybe not that long. I might cut it a little bit shorter, but I don't cut right up to that line, because it's easier to tape together if you have a little bit of overlap. So see, now I can overlap that, match those lines, match all these little lines, and make sure I have this in the right spot. And you're matching that A to B. I'm just going to tape that together. And we're doing the pink size, so I just need to tape to that pink line. Now also make sure when you print out your template that you print it at actual size and not to fit. Many printers defer to fit. So you want to make sure you double check that this box is 1 inch by 1 inch. If it's smaller, then your bib is going to be a little bit small. All right, so we're good to go there. Now I'm going to cut on the pink line to make my 3 to 6 month template. I'm going to take my fabric that's going to be the front. Now, if you are using directional fabric, make sure that the direction is going from the bottom to the top and you're not cutting it this way or all of your birds would be sideways. Fold this in half, right sides together. I guess it really doesn't matter because it's a mirror image. You could fold it either direction. I'm going to finger press that, and then I'm going to pin on my template, making sure this is on that fold nicely. Actually, just to save a little bit of time, I'm going to use clips on the fold. Now I try not to hold things in the air when I cut them. You're going to get a more accurate cut if you keep it down on the table, but I keep lifting it. Now, because that's not the most fun part of sewing, I only cut the fabric on the front. And I do this whenever possible, and especially when I'm working with curves, because why cut out the towel to this shape and then have to clip all the curves anyway? So what I do is I put it right side down and I pin it, and we're going to sew all the way around here, and then we are going to cut with pinking shears. That'll cut this off, and it will cut all of the curves. It's a bit of a time saver. So when I am doing this, because I've got lots of different projects I like to do with towels, I always try and keep whatever I can, kind of like keeping fabric scraps. I also like to keep my little terry towel scraps. You could use that to make a little baby washcloth, all kinds of things. So I have a little stash of those. Now for turning, you want to leave space open where you have the straightest section, because that's going to be the easiest to turn and tuck under. You don't want to do it up here on a curve. You certainly don't want to do it in here. So I'm actually going to put 2 pins together so that I know to stop, because sometimes you just get on a roll and all of a sudden you're right where you started and you're grabbing your seam ripper. So doing a little visual reminder of 2 pins together is really helpful. Now, one thing I want to mention before we get to the sewing machine, where it's a little harder to see, because this curve is so tight and these are especially tight, I'm going to use just a regular stitch length, probably the 2.4, that is my machine default, all the way around here. But then when I get up here, I'm going to change it to a 1.8 to a 2.0 so that I have a smaller stitch length, and that is going to allow this to turn better. The longer the stitches, the less of a curve you're going to get, even when you clip them pretty well. We'll do that. We'll do regular stitch length, small stitch length, and then we'll clip. So let's head to the sewing machine. We're going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and make sure you go forward and back. I usually go twice because it will be a little bit of strain on this when we're turning this right side out. And now that we're getting up to the top where the curves are getting a lot tighter, I'm going to decrease my stitch length to 1.9. And if you can't quite do the curve without picking up the foot, just leave your needle down, pick up the foot, and twist it a little bit to get it back on track. And now we're to the 2 pins, so I know that I need to stop and go forward and back. And I'm going to make it as straight as possible between where I started and where I stopped. Now we're going to take pinking shears and we're going to clip all the way around where it is sewn. Make sure you don't clip your stitch lines. We're not going to use the pinking shears where we have left this open to turn. For that area, I'm going to use regular fabric scissors, and I'm going to do the towel about 1/8 of an inch even further out than the fabric. I love using pinking shears for clipping curves. It's so much faster than using little scissors and doing all these little cuts, especially on something like this that is primarily curves. And unlike cutting the fabric from the template, it's fine for me to be holding this up like this because these 2 pieces are sewn together, so nothing is going to be shifting. All right, so we're back to where I started. So I'm just going to come off the edge. So it's nice and clipped. Next step is to turn it right side out. Not sure who I'm going to give this to yet. I think one of my husband's friends having a baby. Maybe if they have a girl, this would be really cute. Sure, I'll find somebody for it sometime. Who are you going to be making bibs for? You have kids, grandbabies, nieces, nephews, neighbors. Let me know in the comments. So I turn that right side out as much as I can with my fingers. And then I grab a turning tool. Look, that matches too. We have to find joy where we can, and mine is apparently in coordination today. So I'm just going to very gently use this turning tool to push out the edge of those tight curves. So now I'm going to take it to the ironing board, and I'm going to press that, and I'm going to press this under so that that line continues. And you can't really see where we left it open for turning. Then we're going to go back to the sewing machine, and I'm going to top stitch about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. That's going to close this opening and also just keep the rest of it flat so it stays where it's supposed to be when it goes in and out of the wash, like baby bibs do. I'm going to start up here because that would be in behind the baby instead of having the stitching start towards the front of the bib. And because I'm not starting off of an edge and I don't want knots on the back, I'm going to pull up my bobbin thread. So foot down, put the needle down, holding this thread, put the needle up, give a little tug. I like to grab some tweezers and then put these two threads, the bobbin and the top thread, under the foot and hold them as I take 2 to 3 stitches and then go backwards, pulling it up and holding that. Make sure that it's not going to get sucked back down and turned into a big old bird's nest knot. And just like when I sewed this, I'm going to decrease my stitch length so that I can get pretty good curves here. Now, if you wanted to do a Velcro closure, you would sew the hook side on the front and the loop side, which is softer, on the back, just in case it were to hit baby's neck. I like to have the loop on the back, and then that would just close like that. But I am going to use a KamSnap, so let me show you really quick how easy those are to install. As you can see, these sew up so quickly and they're cute if you just pick a fabric that you like and you just make it one fabric. You can make these as detailed as you want. If you want to make it patchwork, or if you want to add like a ribbon or some kind of trim, you could add an initial, you could embroider a name, lots and lots of ways to go. You could do HTV vinyl and put a funny saying on there, but this one I think is just adorable just as is. Let me know in the comments if you would personalize this or if you would just let the fabric do the work for you. Now let's talk about these snaps. These are KamSnaps, and I'm going to use the hand applicator. So for these snaps, you need 2 of the button part that has the point, and then you need 1 male and 1 female part. The male part snaps into the female part, and you're not allowed to giggle about that because I want to every time. So we're going to decide where we want it, and I usually just put it towards the end, and I always start on the top one, so I'll just kind of put that, oh, look at that. If you're using thicker fabric, sometimes you need to poke the hole with this. I call it a mini ice pick. Dangerous little thing, but that just pushed right through. You need to get the long ones because of the towel. I've done it with the shorter ones, but sometimes they come apart, which is a bummer. Okay, so I have pushed that through. And now I'm going to take the female part and just put it on top. See how the point, it has a hole right in the middle and the point goes through there. And what this is going to do is it's going to smash the plastic of the point so that it holds this whole thing together. Now the black part on this is curved and the white that we pushed through the front sits in there really nicely so you can feel that it is in place. Then this part goes on top and then you just squeeze. Give it a good little squeeze and then you look and you can see that plastic point is now smashed and we've already got half done. Now what I like to do is I just overlap them and then I push down a little bit and it makes a little dent in the fabric for where you want your other snap. So I'm just going to use this for this one and push the hole in from the top. For this one, we're going to have the button part coming from the back because we need the male and female part to match. So if we had both of these on top, it would snap together like that, which would be awkward for the baby. Then we're going to put that on there and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to make sure the button part sits nicely in the black, put that together, see, and squeeze. You can see that is done and snap. So now we have a baby bib, and this is the 3 to 6 month size. So click the link, you can go grab these templates for free. So there's newborn, 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, and 1 to 4 years approximately. These are a great baby shower gift, new baby gift, something to make for your baby. You can make them seasonal. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss a thing. I do lots of easy sewing projects, quilting for beginners, and lots of topics on how to sew and sell. Let's turn that sewing machine into a cash machine, whether you want to build a business, pay for a vacation, or just pay for 1 or 2 of your bills that you have every month. My name is Tara Reed. I'm an artist, a fabric designer with Riley Blake Designs, and I love doing videos like this. I will sign off now, and you go have a great day. Hopefully you get to sew.